Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining the Hidden Valley Water System Improvements Project. So our agenda today, we have our welcome. I am going to introduce the project team, and then we'll go over what the need is, why we're doing this project. We'll go over when the project will be taking place, the schedule. We'll talk about some of the construction details, what you will see. We'll talk about the pressure change that you will see. And finally, how to stay connected in the future if you have more questions. So I am Amy Verschell. I'm one of the project managers for Charlotte Water. Also on the team with Charlotte Water is Katie Liebman, who is part of our communications team. Also, as part of the team, we have both Sanders Utility Construction, Freddie Young, and BRS, Will Eisenhower. And the engineers on this project, STV Engineering, Drew Vane, who will be speaking later, Brown and Caldwell, we have Andy Mitchell and Jay Fulmer, and Chernoff Newman Communications, Amanda DeWeese. So the overview of this project, why are we doing this project? A lot of the water system in Hidden Valley was constructed back in the 1960s. And what was acceptable then is not necessarily what we want for our customers today. The Hidden Valley community has had lower water pressure. There's a range of acceptable water pressures. Hidden Valley happens to be on the low end. What you will see coming up in order to address this concern, we're going to be putting in a new water pipe and replacing some valves. Once those are all in place and we're ready to more or less flip the switch, that will increase the pressure to the customers in the Hidden Valley neighborhood. We'll call it approximately 20 pounds per square inch, that's PSI, about 50% more pressure than customers see today. With that, so what we will be putting in is about 15,000 feet, so close to 3 miles of new water main. It mostly will be in Tom Hunter Road, but we will actually be starting on West Sugar Creek Road, crossing under 85 and running end to end on Tom Hunter Road all the way to North Tryon Street. So that's most of the construction. Also, there are 12 valves that we're going to be replacing just at intersections along the border of Hidden Valley. With that, I'll turn it over to Drew.
Hi, I'm Drew Vane. I'm with STV Engineers here in Charlotte. This shows a map graphically of where the water lines are going to go. On the line on the left, as Amy said, follows West Sugar Creek Road. That's going to be 12-inch and 16-inch, tunnel under 85, along Tom Hunter and end at North Tryon, where the tie-in it will be. Also, as part of redundancy, there'll be a 12-inch water line from the Mineral Springs area that will cross under 85 along the I-85 Equipment Drive service road and tie in again at North Tryon Street. In addition, as Amy said, to isolate this new pressure zone from the surrounding pressure zones, the contractor is going to cut in new valves throughout the Hidden Valley neighborhoods. Many of the valves, as Amy said, are old. They don't close all the way, and so this will ensure that a good system is set up and new valves are put in so that the new pressure zone can be isolated. This is a list of the locations where those valves are going. You may recognize your street or these intersections may be familiar to you. So we wanted to provide this so you can kind of see and know what to expect in these intersections when the valves get put in. So this project isn't starting today. It's been going on for some time, and we've got a lot accomplished already, mainly behind the scenes work. We've gotten the field work complete, a lot of the surveying, geotechnical investigations, locating underground utilities that are already there so we don't have conflicts. We've got the design to a point where it can move to construction, and we have property acquisition is undergoing as well. To talk a little bit about property acquisition, a company called Telex is the main property coordinator. They're handling contacts with residents and coordinating the appraisals and agreements and sign-offs. So at this point in the project, if Charlotte Water requires an easement from you or because we need to acquire an easement on your property, you probably have already been contacted them. So the majority of the projects are in public road right-of-way, so there's not a lot of easements required, but this is a part of the project that's ongoing. So I'd like to talk a little bit about construction now and what you'd expect to see out there in your neighborhood. We'll start with a schedule of a timeline. Fall 2021 is where the Tom Hunter work will really start. It'll mainly start at the eastern end at North Tryon, I believe, working its way west. And then that's expected to take 18 months to complete that water line. And then the valve work is expected to start next year in the spring over a 4-month period. So what will the construction look like? Generally, the contractor will come in, he'll trim some of the trees back, do minor clearing, he'll start mobilizing equipment to the area. It's very important that he establish a safe work zone with barriers and cones to protect the workers during construction. There'll be traffic control measures set up, possible detours as needed, and then you'll see the contractor basically digging up the pavement, putting the pipe in, backfilling, and then eventually restoring the area. At the end of this, each section, the contractor will fill the pipes, flush them, chlorinate them, and put them into service. There will be some water service interruptions, excuse me, and when these are planned, they'll be communicated 72 hours in advance so that residents know. There'll probably be door hangers, maybe even a knock on the door to let you know there's going to be a water shutdown. There is a chance there may be unplanned outages if there's an emergency, and those will take high precedent and be repaired as soon as possible. If you do see or experience cloudy or discolored water in your home, then you should just run your faucets for up to 15 minutes. If it's still not clean, then call 311 and mention a water emergency, and Charlotte Water will take care of it. So we don't anticipate rock on this project. If there is solid rock that's buried in the trench that the contractor has to remove, there is a possibility he may have to do blasting. So it would be a small controlled blast. There would be seismic monitors set up around the blast area, and impacted property owners in the area would have an opportunity for a pre-blast survey of their home and their property and structures prior to the blasting taking place. So this is a graphic showing sort of the process that blasting takes place. The contractor have excavated down and notice the rock is in the way and he can't put the water line in. So they will drill holes in the rock, place small dynamite charges, repack the dirt into the hole, cover with a blasting mat to protect everything, and then detonate the charges. Normally, this allows the contractor not to explode the rock, but to fracture it with blasting so that it can be dug up mechanically in a safe way afterwards. One of the things we've done on this project is coordinate with other city departments, and it turns out CDOT is planning a streetscape project along Tom Hunter Road from about Monteith intersection all the way to North Tryon. So this project will take place consecutively with the water main work. So there'll be additional storm drain put in, sidewalks, curb and gutter, bike lanes, and new paving and striping. So that portion, those two projects are coordinating with each other, and the same contractor is going to do both work. Then to talk a little bit about the valve construction activities compared to the pipeline. In a similar way, the contractor will mobilize equipment to the intersection. They'll establish a safe work zone, cones and barriers, possibly detours if the work is in the middle of an intersection. They'll excavate, install the valves, and backfill. And then once they're done, the area will be paved and restored back. In some areas may pave the whole lane, and other areas it may be a patch in the neighborhood. And he's going to talk about mobilization and preparation now. Sorry, Amy.
So Drew has, whoops, go back to Andy. Sorry about that. Well, skipping ahead. So Drew has talked about, describing the activities that will be coming up, but sometimes it's best to see an actual photo of what construction looks like. So we have some photos of various size construction projects. This one, you can see the size of equipment right in the street, close to houses. This one is a 6-inch water line. And it also has new pipes where they'd be going to each meter. We will not be going to each meter on this project, and the Hidden Valley water main is larger. It's 16 inches in diameter. This was a large project. You can see the size of the equipment is much larger. This, I believe, was about the same size as what we're putting in. We're putting in a 16-inch water main. This was actually a sewer project, but again, in the street, you can see the same house in both photos. The one picture is during construction. There's mud, it's messy, but afterwards, the street is repaved. There's a new sidewalk. Everything gets cleaned up and put back to at least as good as it looked before we started construction, and sometimes even better. If we are in somebody's yard, it will be put back with grass seed. If we're in the road, it will be, sometimes it's a temporary patch, and then come back and do the final paving later.
Hi, this is Andy. I'm with Caldwell. We performed the original design for the project. I'm going to talk about the water pressure change a bit and some of the reasons behind the project. So once we complete construction, the valves Amy and Drew described earlier will be opened, and that'll give the customers an immediate increase in water pressure. As Drew notified you of previously, all residents and businesses will be notified well in advance, the valves being opened and any change in your pressure. How much will that pressure increase? The increase will be about 20 psi, and that will only occur when all the work is complete, valves are opened, so that's about 50% more pressure than you see today. Charlotte Water does have a contract with Homeserve. Homeserve is a policy that will last for a year. It will be free of charge to you, and that will cover any issues you may have with your interior plumbing or your exterior service line, and will include up to $500 of adjustments on your water bill in the event of a leak. That coverage will not cover any of your sewer lines, so only water. You will have the opportunity to renew that policy if you choose, but at your cost. There will be an information packet sent to you well in advance of that transition. So what happens next? We talked about easement acquisitions. That should be finishing soon. Sometime this fall, you'll see Sanders and BRS mobilizing their equipment for the water main work along Tom Hunter. Pre-blast surveys, only if they're needed, only if they find rock and need to blast, those will happen shortly after mobilization. And then in the spring of 22, the contractor will mobilize and begin construction of the valves in the neighborhood. Again, that's spring of next year, 2022.
And that brings us to the conclusion of our presentation. If you do have more questions, there is a web page with the address that is shown on the screen. You can contact myself, Amy Verschell. My email address is there. My phone number is there. That phone number is direct to me or my colleague, Brian LeBlanc. His contact information and phone number are also on the screen. We will be sending out mailers. There'll be door hangers. We'll be contacting the neighborhood associations and also posting information on Nextdoor. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to anyone on the project team. Thank you for your interest today.